Good morning and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And Sassy Lady, thank you so much for joining us and reposting the stream. So this morning, we're going to kick it off with our Kids Corner.
Young billionaire Ethan Chen, 6 years old, sat alone in his golden playroom filled with the latest toys. Despite having everything money could buy, his eyes told a different story. He felt completely empty inside and yearned for something money couldn't purchase: genuine happiness. As Ethan stepped onto his balcony that golden afternoon, he discovered a small green leaf from his rooftop garden had fallen on the railing. To his amazement, the leaf began to glow and speak in a gentle, warm voice that immediately caught his attention with curiosity and wonder. "I am the lucky leaf," magical leaf whispered mysteriously. "I can grant you true happiness, but you must help 3 people in need first. Are you ready for this adventure that money cannot buy?" Ethan's eyes sparkled with excitement as he nodded eagerly, ready to begin his journey. The leaf whispered, "Look down below." Ethan saw an elderly woman struggling to carry heavy grocery bags. Without hesitation, he ran down from his 20th floor apartment, surprising his nanny, Mrs. Garcia, who watched in amazement as he helped the woman carry her groceries home, his heart feeling warmer than ever before. Next, Ethan spotted a young boy crying in the building courtyard, sitting alone on a bench. The leaf encouraged him to approach. Ethan learned the boy had no friends to play with and felt lonely. Ethan immediately invited him to play in his amazing playroom, showing that friendship was more valuable than having expensive toys. For his third act of kindness, Ethan noticed the building's security guard looking tired and hungry during his long shift. Ethan shared his favorite sandwich and snacks, then sat and talked with the guard about his day, discovering that caring for others brought him more joy than any expensive toy ever had. As evening arrived, the lucky leaf glowed brightly and revealed its final secret. True happiness isn't found in gold or expensive things, but in the joy we bring to others. Ethan realized his heart felt fuller helping people than spending money on toys, and he promised to be kind every day for the rest of his life. Remember, kids, the greatest treasures aren't made of gold or silver, but of kindness and love. When we help others and share what we have, we discover that true happiness comes from making others smile, and that feeling stays in our hearts forever.
Yeah, it really does. So always remember, spread love and joy and share, right? That's even something, again, as adults that we need to remember to do. So thank you. And I'm hoping, that it hit somebody's heart today. Um, and I, do it for my little people. And Malia Collins says, hi. She's coming from YouTube. Hello to you. I love your avatar. That's so cute. Little bear. That's adorable. Oh, and Patty Cakes, she's also joining us from YouTube. Grand Rising founder, Grand Rising to YouTube, Patty Cakes. Okay, and we're going to get into our daily mantra, how to honor God with our body. So God, please guard our thoughts. God, help me fix my thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. So I will think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. God, help me with my ears. Help me to listen to your voice. God, help me to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. God, protect my eyes from sin's damage. God, I make a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully. God, please speak life over my mouth. God, set a guard over my mouth. Lord, keep watch over the doors of my lips. God, help my hands to give generously. God, help me to be good to everyone, and especially to those who belong to our family in the faith. And God, please help me with my reproductive organs to honor you, God, with purity. God, help me to honor you with my body. And God, please protect my feet and help me to walk in your path. God, let your word be a lamp for my feet and a light on my path. So that usually sets us up for the morning. Now, I do have a few videos to get into, and today we're going to have a special guest, the Regenerative Rancher. I'm really excited to have her on and to share with us what she's doing and just maybe challenges that she's coming up against. I have got some news, guys, and it's one of those things. What do I start with first? Well, I want to start with a segment from Fox News, and this is Harris Faulkner, and she's following up on, what's been happening with immigration. So let's get into it.
Following this and other incidents around the country, the Trump administration has dramatically ramped up its crackdown on illegal immigration and is also looking at those in the country on asylum, as this Afghan national suspect was. The State Department has essentially paused all refugee admissions and immigration from 19 countries of concern. It is also pushing allies to scale back on their immigration. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem posted last night she is recommending a full travel ban on every country that's been flooding our nation with killers, leeches, and entitlement junkies. Those are her words. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt with more on what the administration is doing.
The Trump administration is now actively re-examining all of the Afghans imported into the country by Joe Biden. It is more important than ever to finish carrying out the president's mass deportation operation. America cannot allow millions upon millions of unvetted illegal aliens to be rewarded with amnesty after they broke our nation's laws to come here. We also are taking a look at those who are already in the interior of our country and removing them if they are here illegally, and also taking a look at these visas. Again, having a visa in the United States is not a right, it is a privilege.
Republican Congresswoman Kat Cammack will be in focus. Let's begin with senior foreign policy correspondent Jillian Turner at the State Department. Jillian.
Good morning to you, Harris. The State Department and DHS are now introducing and promoting this new agenda. They are calling it remigration, and it's meant to essentially stop mass migration from the so-called third world countries to the West. Trump officials now say, as you mentioned a moment ago, they actually want America's closest allies around the world, Europe, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, to follow their lead and do the same thing. Take a look at this post on X out of Homeland Security and the State Department. They write, the stakes have never been higher and the goal has never been more clear. Remigration now. Caroline Leavitt says the murder of a service member 2 blocks from the White House is prompting this agenda. It's something the president has been talking about, though, for months. Here he is at the UN.
Not only is the UN not solving the problems it should, too often, it's actually creating new problems for us to solve. The best example is the #1 political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined. The United Nations is funding an assault on Western countries and their borders.
So we have obtained a cable sent by the State Department to all of the diplomatic corps around the world that instructs them to help support and further the president's aims on ending mass migration. They tell diplomats that they must, #1, raise U.S. concerns about violent crimes associated with people of a migration background and any related human rights abuses, because these events are widespread disruptors of social cohesion and public safety. Diplomats must also report crime linked to immigrants to State Department headquarters, as well as analysis of how host governments handle these issues, including policies that unduly favor migrants at the expense of local populations. Here's a quick look at the 19 countries that the Trump administration has already ended immigration from, full stop. It's a list the White House says they are now looking to expand. And as we heard Caroline Leavitt say at the podium yesterday, Harris, refugee admissions into the country, except for a small handful of folks from South Africa, is essentially at a standstill. These are major systemic overhauls that are now underway. Harris?
All right. Thank you for that great reporting, as always, Jillian. I want to bring in now Republican Congresswoman Kat Cammack of the great state of Florida. Congresswoman, millions of people are in this country, and they've come in different ways, some illegally, no vetting at all. Others went through that parole and asylum system under Biden with insufficient vetting. What is the president trying to do at this point?
Well, good to see you, Harris. And it's pretty staggering when you take a step back and you realize that today, 1 in 6 people here in the United States is foreign born. 1 in 6. That, quite frankly, is not sustainable to maintain a culture that we are known for here in the United States. When you have people who, instead of assimilating into our culture, are opting to basically import their culture, many cases that culture is one of fraud and schemes and scams and violence, you erode the underfoot of what America is all about. And so in the last 4 years, we've watched as the open borders poured 10 million that we know were paroled into the United States, and then millions more that we don't know about or where they are. That is why the president has to take this action, and he has full presidential authority to do so. Every president, in fact, whether they Republican or Democrat, since the 1980s, has used Section 212F of the Immigration and Naturalization Act. So I think that this is an important step in ensuring the closed borders at the moment, but most importantly, national security and safe communities.
You know, I haven't asked anybody this question, but as you're giving out these details and we're putting up that 1 in 6 people in the U.S. foreign born on the screen right now, it is a dynamic reminder of where we are. But how did we get here to the point where we had so many people coming in, not just the last 4 years, but under other presidents too? Didn't anybody see this coming other than Trump?
Well, a couple of different things, right? So people used to say that they were coming to the United States not for our IQ, but our CQ, our creative quotient, the ability that Americans inherently have to solve problems. We're innovators, we're problem solvers. Well, instead of people coming and saying, we're going to be a part of this, it kind of drifted into, okay, less opportunity, more of a payout. And we're seeing that play out in states all across America. Look no further than Minnesota and the disaster that's unfolding there, where the Somalian community has been really the root of all of the waste, fraud, and abuse that we've seen in the last several years. That culture of we want equal outcome, and we're looking for a handout rather than a hand up, rather than equal opportunity. That is really what is underpinning all of this fraud and this mass migration, where people say, well, if you go to America, you'll get free everything. Free, your light bill will be taken care of, your rent will be taken care of, your food will be taken care of, but it's all done on the backs of the American taxpayer. And that's where you're seeing this rub. We have to decide as a nation, are we about equal opportunity, or are we about equal outcome? That's what the fight is really about at the end of the day.
That first example you gave is an excellent one. I was a journalist on the ground in Minneapolis, returned to that market years later, and those 12 ISIS trials, those people at the heart of that, they were teenagers at the time, were part of that migration situation that they were really struggling with there. All right, we'll move here. One outlet points to the procedures listed on government websites, that asylum seekers are required to undergo extensive vetting and screenings even after being in the country for several years. The headline reads, Suspected National Guard shooter reveals deeper problems with asylum seeker vetting. An immigration enforcement advocacy group president told the Washington Examiner, quote, blaming radicalization after Biden let him in isn't a defense, it's the indictment. It proves we never should have opened the door. Trump never promised to accept imported threats and play eternal whack-a-mole with better vetting, yearly check-ins or special immigrant visas. Your response?
Well, Harris, you've heard me say it before. It was never a matter of if, but when an attack or something tragic happens here in the United States as a result of the failed withdrawal out of Afghanistan, that entire botched operation, and then the unvetting that occurred, right? Well, of course, we have those that have come across the border. We know that there are known terrorists that are in the United States now establishing cells. It was not a matter of if, but when. That's the first part. Second part is when I was overseas spending Christmas with the troops in the Middle East, I was visiting some of the quote unquote lily pads where they were pre-vetting individuals. They couldn't answer basic questions, but I got the sense from people on the ground that they were more interested in checking boxes and pushing paperwork than actually doing the vetting. In cases here in the United States, we had reports that there were individuals, Afghan nationals, that were sent here and they were simply walking off of military bases because there was no SOP put in place. So there is a failure of a culture in government that they're more interested in checking boxes and pushing paper than they are actually doing the job and saying no and being the bad guy. That is what has to change.
Well, and I love that you used SOP, standard operating procedure, because that's what I think the president's trying to do on immigration right now. He's
Yes,
going to
and he
reset some
needs to.
things. Good to see you.
Yes.
Thank you very much for being in focus.
Absolutely. Have a good one.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch
Yeah, and it's really amazing because you would think, okay, we are the United States government, right? We have immigration laws. You would think there would be basic standard operating procedures for anyone, especially just a vetting process, right? Whether asylum, refugee, um, H-1B, like anybody who is not an American who is coming through, right? Whether they're coming through illegally or legally, there still has to be some type of vetting, right? We still need to know who's on our shores. And like the Congresswoman was saying, this is the reason it wasn't so much if, but when, because we don't know. We still don't know all the people that are here. I mean, ICE is still trying to get people, right? And that's why a lot of times you'll see those shorts or videos where they're literally at a courthouse and they're waiting for people to come out. And when they're apprehending those individuals, it's because the judge has said your deportation orders are set. You are not allowed to be here in this country. You are set to be deported. That's why they take them. Now, if they're granted any type of stay or leniency, right, where they can stay in the country, ICE isn't going to mess with those people, period, because they're fine. But it's the ones that you see that have gotten set deportation orders. So when people are saying they're not getting their due process, yeah, they are. If your due process says you can no longer be here and you need to be deported, that's it. And a lot of the people that they're going to these different they say churches and all these other places, but when they're literally going somewhere to apprehend someone, they have paperwork on them that says these people are in violation of their deportation orders and they need to be removed, period. But they want to make it look like they're the bad guys. They're the Gestapo and all these other things. We'll get into some more of that later this week. But just to set it up, I'm glad that, this administration is finally realizing, hey, we just don't have standard operating procedure. It's like, it's amazing to me. I'm like, y'all have, okay, you've got all these resources. Can we please get somebody in there that wants to really do the job as opposed to just showing up and collecting a paycheck? Because it's showing. Okay. And I'm sure it's been showing for decades, but now it's like blatant. Nobody wants to do any work, but they'll show up. I'm just saying, whether online or in person, to get their paycheck, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're doing their job. Like when Elon Musk at the beginning of the year, he was like, okay, so what did you do this week? I was all for that. Look, you should be able to tell anybody what you're doing. Like I processed so many people, or this is what happened this week in my job. And people were complaining like, how dare you ask me what I'm doing? Because you're working and you're getting taxpayer dollars to do your job. We all demand to know what you're doing. Just saying. All right. Next subject. So now I want to talk a little bit about what someone actually brought up in the comments about this boat strike that happened. So yes, the Trump administration halts, as you saw in the video, applications from 19 countries. And I'm glad they're halting it. I would love if we could administratively shut down the border for at least 20 years. And that people say, well, that's a long time. Well, the thing is, some people, when they're applying for immigration or, to become a naturalized citizen, it can take up to 10 years. And so I'm just saying we need that kind of time, the 10 years for the people who are doing it legally, and then still up to another 10 years to get people out of here that are here illegally, or people that are not in alignment with the Constitution, denaturalization. A lot of that needs to happen. It's not just the Somali community. They're one community, but there are other communities that are here on United States soil that need to be denaturalized. They are not in alignment with our culture here in America. They don't want freedom. They just want to keep enslaving people because that's what they're used to doing from their side or for wherever they're from. And we need to get rid of that. So, oh, thank you. Edwin Torres, he says facts, and I agree. Well, thank you for agreeing. Definitely appreciate it. Let's see. Let me get down here. Here is the article because my husband and I were talking about this yesterday. He is former military, and it was very concerning to him what was going on with this second strike of the alleged drug boat that happened. So the U.S. ordered a second strike on an alleged Venezuelan drug boat, sparking controversy over the legality of the decision. So here are the details. The Washington Post that leans left reported on Friday that the U.S. was struck a suspected drug boat in the Caribbean after observing that the initial strike left 2 survivors. The report also alleged that the second strike was conducted to comply with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's order to kill everybody. Now, these are still alleged reports. So Hegseth called the report fake news, saying it is fabricated, inflammatory, and derogatory. And President Trump also disputed the allegations. However, the White House has since confirmed that the second strike did take place, saying it was legally ordered by an admiral. Trump, when asked, said, "I wouldn't have wanted a second strike. The first strike was very lethal. It was fine. The discussion, according to some, may be punishable as a war crime." Okay, so that's just to give you guys a little background on that. Now, for context, the controversial second strike occurred on September 2nd and was reportedly the first boat to be fired upon in the Caribbean since Trump started using lethal force against alleged narco terrorists. 6 Democratic Congress members also recently urged military members to disobey illegal orders and are currently under investigation for seditious behavior. Republicans and Democrats from the House and Senate Armed Forces Committee announced plans to probe the incident starting December 4th. So that's going to be tomorrow. Now, this is how the media covered it. Time magazine that leans left highlighted the White House scrambling to respond to reports, framing the article around contradictions between the White House officials and Trump. The Epoch Times framed the decisions to strike the boat a second time around the White House defense on the legality of the strikes. The outlet also mentioned the upcoming probe, highlighting the bipartisan nature of the probe into the incident. Now, if the president decides to make a remark that one of his cabinet secretaries have made, Pete Hegseth, anyone, he's allowed to have his opinion. And I think more so, he said, "I wouldn't have wanted that." That's his opinion. That's not direction. There's different. There's a difference. Yes, he is the commander in chief, and he does delegate down, strikes and different things to people that have that knowledge, and he expects them to do their job. That's all this comes back to. Right now, the question is, was it was it in the legal capacity to do? Okay. Basically, let's just frame it this way. So, of course, if you guys are new to my channel, what I do is I use Grok, I use AI, I do different forms of research so that I have a better understanding of what's going on. That's just what I do. So what I did is I said during this administration, was there a declaration of war on drug cartels? And there was no formal congressional declaration of war on drug cartels, such as required by the U.S. Congress. However, the administration took significant executive actions that effectively framed the U.S. government with drug cartels as an armed conflict. Okay, so not war, but an armed conflict. So let's just get that. Invoking presidential powers under Article 2. This included designating major cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, authorizing military strikes against cartel linked targets, and notifying Congress of a non international armed conflict with these groups. Okay. So, again, setting the stage. These steps built in campaign promises to aggressively combat fentanyl and other drug trafficking, primarily from Mexico, Venezuela, and other Latin American sources. Now, this incident happened in that territory or around in Venezuela and the Caribbean. Okay. Now, this approach has been controversial, with critics arguing its overreach executive authority risk escalating tensions with sovereign nations like Mexico and Venezuela and could lead to civilian casualties or broader regional instability. Supporters view it as a necessary escalation to address the overdose crisis, which claims over 100,000 American lives annually, largely from cartel smuggled fentanyl. Look, there's a problem with Venezuela and Mexico. They have a problem. Sorry, there's a lot of criminal activity going on down there that their people need help with, especially even in Mexico. I think that, it got wild, and it still is wild down there. You got their president supporting the cartels over the people. Like, what are we doing? And the same thing's happening in Venezuela, right? We don't want that over here. Okay. So it still comes back to the question of, were they a threat to America, right? Where this incident happened. So on January 20th, there was an executive order, 14157, and it directed the state departments to designate international cartels and other organizations, FTOs, or specially designated global terrorists under the Immigration and Nationality Act and International Emergency Economic Powers Act, aimed at groups flooding the U.S. with deadly drugs, violent criminals, and vicious gangs. So, okay. There we go. So, because I know a lot of people were like, well, why is all this stuff happening? Well, it was already put in place, but there was so much happening. I'm sorry. Donald Trump was on the stage January 21st and just doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like day one, like, where's the table? Where's the pen? Where are the executive orders? We are turning everything around. So I can imagine, he works at net break speed. You just got to keep up. I'm just saying. So February 6th, the State Department designations, Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced 8 entities as FTOs and SDGTs, including 6 Mexico-based groups, Sinaloa Cartel, yes, all of those, and 2 Central American gangs, the Tren de Agua, which you guys heard about a lot, from Venezuela, and MS-13 from El Salvador. These designations enable asset freezes, travel bans, and material support prosecutions up to life in prison under Title 18 U.S.C. Code Section 2339B. Now, in August, secret military directive, Trump signed an executive order authorizing the Pentagon to use military force against designated cartels, shifting from law enforcement to a national security framework. This included offers to deploy U.S. troops to Mexico, rebuffed by President Claudia Sheinbaum as a sovereignty violation. So that's kind of when we heard from her later this summer. And Mark from the Soil, thank you for joining us this morning and reposting the stream. I appreciate you. And some other people that have joined us. H. Bush Monster, thank you for joining us from X. Boy D. Belongi, I'm sorry if I'm butchering these, you guys, but thank you for joining us. Keith Kingman, thank you for joining us this morning. And Gino K4R, thank you for joining us this morning. And Only Facts, thank you so much for joining us and reposting the stream from X. So in September, we got initial military strikes. So this may be the September strike from the article that I was reading in question. So U.S. forces conducted strikes on suspected cartel drug vessels in the Caribbean and Pacific, killing nearly 40 alleged smugglers. Targets included boats linked to Venezuela's routes, justified as self-defense against narco terrorists. Survivors in one incident were repatriated after being deemed non-combatants. So there was a situation where there were some people that were basically apprehended. Okay. October 2nd, confidential memo to Congress. Trump notified Congress that the U.S. is in a non-international armed conflict. Okay, so they were notified. So it's not like Congress can sit up here and say, "Oh, you didn't tell us anything," and the 6 people that were like, "You need to not follow illegal orders." Did you get this memo? Just saying. With cartels classifying their drug smuggling as an armed attack on the U.S., cartel members were labeled unlawful combatants, allowing lethal force without arrest under international law, similar to post 9/11 Al Qaeda precedents. No specific cartel names were listed, but it referenced prior FTO designations. So basically, they were like, they fell under the, people from the executive order that he outlined here from the State Department designations and from his executive order 14157. Now, as of October 23rd, public statements on escalation, Trump stated no congressional war declaration was needed, emphasizing we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. He hinted at future land-based operations potentially in Venezuela amid rising tensions with President Nicolas Maduro. Okay, he said that. We're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into the country. Like, he's shutting it down. It's like, we're not going to apprehend these people and have a conversation and have a trial and look, you're not bringing drugs over here. We're shutting it down. That's what he's doing. And he says it's not war. It's non-international armed conflict. Okay. So legal and practical implications. I won't read through everything, but just the titles. So war powers basis. The administration invoked the 1973 War Powers Resolution for notifications, but bypassed full congressional authorization, arguing cartels' actions causing U.S. deaths via fentanyl constitute a direct threat. This mirrors the Bush-era global war on terror, right? But applies it to profit-driven criminal groups, not ideological ones. So, yes, these groups, they're like, hey, but it always comes back to, so who's buying the fentanyl on this side that they're trying to deliver it to? I'm just saying, like, somebody's purchased these things. They're bringing the product, but somebody purchased the product that's on our shore. So we still need to find out who that is. We don't talk about that part. Yeah, we can get rid of the product from coming, but somebody purchased the product over here. So who are those people? Right? Hopefully we'll get to that. There's consequences, right? Effectiveness and backlash. Strikes have intercepted cocaine and fentanyl precursors, but experts note most fentanyl originates from China via Mexico, not Venezuela. Mexico views this as interference, and Venezuela has threatened retaliation. public discourse on platforms like X reflect polarization, with some praising it as war on drugs, rival, and others decrying it as oil motivated imperialism or executive overreach. So, as of December 3rd, no further congressional action has occurred, and operations continue under executive authority. Now, I asked a little bit of a further question. So, I took the article that we read, popped it in Grok, and just said, this article discusses a situation that happened on September 2nd. Would this be included in that? And it says yes. The incident described in the All Sides article, specifically the U.S. military second strike on an alleged Venezuelan boat in the Caribbean Sea on September 2nd, would be included within the broader category of initial military strikes that were referenced September, October timeline, right? So, this is what it is. It's providing some context. The event aligns directly with the early phase of U.S. operations against cartel-linked smuggling vessels, which began in September 2025. The article details a follow-up strike, the second in a sequence for this particular boat, ordered after an initial attack that left 2 survivors, resulting in no additional casualties reported from the second action. Okay. So that was the one that left 2 survivors. Okay. So it was defended by the White House as a lawful under the Admiral's authority, tying into the escalating armed conflict, right? Framework against narco-terrorists. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth dismissed related reporting as fake news, while Donald Trump noted the first strike was very lethal and sufficient, expressing reluctance for the follow-up, right? This fits as one of the disruptive actions targeting boats in Venezuela routes that intercepted narcotics precursors, contributing to the overall tally of nearly 40 alleged smugglers killed in that period. Yeah. And I said, and I even further, I want to say, were there any laws violated? Because I always want to check and just be like, okay, was there any violation? And as of December 3rd, no U.S. court has issued a definitive ruling declaring the Trump administration's actions in September 2nd strikes on the alleged Venezuelan boat to be in violation of U.S. or international law. However, the incident has sparked intense bipartisan scrutiny, right? With legal experts, former military officials, lawmakers, and human rights organizations arguing that it likely constitutes violations of domestic and international laws. The administration maintains that the strikes were lawful under presidential authority, self-defense doctrines, and the laws of armed conflict. But critics contend these justifications are legally flawed and unsubstantiated. Well, here's the deal. He's already set it up that this is not war, that this is a conflict, right? So President Trump has already outlined and said, this is what it is, right? So I'm just going back up here because I want to make sure that I say it right. He designated these people as, cartels, organizations. He deemed them terrorists, did that. Okay. And it's basically, it is a non-international armed conflict, period. It is not war. Right? So that's the struggle that's happening right now. So you might hear, some people, talking about this or going over this who may make it appear like the president, he can't do this. He can't. He actually can, because he's already outlined it. He notified Congress. So if anybody had an issue, right? And I know there was a lot going on with the government shutdown, which, a lot of times these things are distracting because I didn't know this happened October 2nd again, because there was a lot going on. But again, You don't get to say, well, he's just trying to do an act of war. Who are you protecting? First of all, you're definitely not protecting the United States. Okay. No, I don't want anybody coming to our borders with drugs. But again, my question goes back to who is on this side, our side, that made that and placed that order to even bring the drugs to America. So that's the bigger question. It's not so much the delivery, right? It's who ordered the delivery. We need to find those people. So I'll definitely be looking forward to that. Okay. So investigations, there's bipartisan congressional probes are examining the strike's legality with calls for briefings on evidence and decision making. No lawsuits have succeeded yet as challenges face hurdles like state secrets privilege, right? They just don't get to know everything because they're not in the military and they don't know about these strikes and they don't know what's going on. But again, I'm hoping that they find the people on our shores making these orders. Now, broader context, over 80 deaths across 21 plus strikes raise similar issues. Experts warn of escalation risk, including strained U.S. Latin American ties. You know what? If they want to support the cartels in their countries, have at it. Have a good time. But we're not putting up with that here in the United States. Okay? We're shutting that down. You come to our borders and we're shutting it down, period. We're not tolerating these people. We're getting them up off the soil. Like, what are we talking about? And then on X, discussions label it a war crime or murder with calls for accountability. Is it a war crime? Because I just stated, he already noted to Congress, this is not international conflict. I'm paraphrasing, but I'm just saying. He already told them, this is not that. We are protecting our borders. We are making sure. Now, when my husband and I talked about it, I was just like, well, you know, if they're not in our American space, right? As long as you don't come up to Florida, y'all need to deal with that. But the problem is a lot of this stuff goes down into these smaller islands and then it makes its way up into Florida. But again, somebody on the Florida side has made the order. We want the drugs delivered here. We need the drugs here or wherever they are, right? And however they're coming up from the south to the north. We need to find those people who are on our shores, right? Who are on American soil requesting these drugs. Because they're not just bringing drugs to bring them. Somebody's requesting this. So we need to get to the requesters. That's my opinion. That's where we need to go with this. So we're going to have a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to set up the background for my guest who's going to be coming up at 8 o'clock, because I just want to give you guys a little bit of background about what she's going to be bringing to us. So when she comes on, we can talk about her, how everything is going for her and, you know, next steps in what she's doing and what she's bringing. I'm really proud of her and everything that she is accomplishing. So with that, we will see you guys on the other side.
The browsers of today are broken. They've been overtaken by a barrage of sneaky and annoying ads, trackers that follow your habits, and cookies that build profiles and all sorts of other internet clutter that's taking precedence over the content that you want to see. In fact, these useless bites can take up to a whopping 50% of page load times, with a third of it anxiously trying to learn more about you. To make matters worse, some ad blockers are even letting ads through when large advertisers pay them. But do you really want a leaky ad blocker? It's because of these very reasons that we developed Brave, a new browser that kicks internet crud to the curb and makes it faster, safer, and better to surf the web than your current browser. With Brave, everything you need is built right in. We integrated technology that automatically blocks trackers, annoying ads, and shields everything that can cramp your style and destruct your privacy. With it, you can expect increased speeds nearly 2 times faster on laptops and up to 4 times faster on mobile. And unlike any other browser, Brave allows you to support your favorite publishers with automatic micropayments, so it's a win-win for you and your favorite sites. To top it all off, Brave is open source, because we truly believe it's our web and we need to fix it together. So ask yourself this question: do you want a web browser made for the internet of today? If so, try Brave. It's faster, safer, and ad-free.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. And open your eyes. Thank you so much for joining us from YouTube. So now I want to get into what my guest will be going over a little bit, but I just wanted to set up the stage for her. So the Trump administration cracks down on foreign-owned meat packing cartels. Now you would think, cartels only, reference drugs, but no, it is even in our food supply. So this is as of November 7th. Okay. So today, President Donald J. Trump directed the Department of Justice to launch an investigation into the nation's largest meatpacking companies for potential collusion, price fixing, and price manipulation. This decisive action targets the foreign-dominated conglomerates that control Americans' meat supply and have been accused of artificially inflating prices at the expense of farmers, ranchers, and working families. And that is something that my guest is going to be talking about. She'll be joining us in the 8 o'clock hour. So here is a truth from this is on X. Okay. I always have to make sure, because I know sometimes they will repost his truths on X and it has the little, there we go, the little T. So this is on both platforms. It says, I have asked the DOJ to immediately begin an investigation into the meatpacking companies who are driving up the price of beef through illicit collusion, price fixing, and price manipulation. We will always protect our American ranchers, and they are being blamed for what is being done by majority foreign-owned meat packers who artificially inflate prices and jeopardize the security of our nation's food supply. Action must be taken immediately to protect consumers, combat illegal monopolies, and ensure these corporations are not criminally profiting at the expense of the American people. I am asking the DOJ to act expeditiously. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And it's interesting because a lot of people go, why is he always doing that? Well, because in the last administration, he kind of got shut down on the internet and he could not get his messaging out. And a lot of Trump supporters said, we want you to talk to us directly. Here you go. So this is what we're doing. So for far too long, a handful of giant meat packers have squeezed America's cattle producers, shrunk herds, and jacked up prices at the grocery store. By examining whether these companies have violated antitrust laws through coordinated pricing or capacity restrictions, this investigation will root out any illegal collusion, restore fair competition, and protect our food security. Because it's crazy out there. And the whole thing is, I don't eat meat all the time, but every once in a while I do. And I just want to make sure that my meat is safe, right? That it's calm and that it's sourced properly. I'm paying a good price for it, right? Just all of those things. But for me, more than anything, is that it doesn't have any chemicals in it. That's my big thing, because meat is kind of brownish color, it's not that bright red color that you see. That bright red color that you see in some instances is a cancer-causing chemical that's put on foods after the fact. So, that's, to me, that's a bigger question. I'm always about, like, how healthy is it? Because we do have the opportunity to have healthy sourced meat. The question is, why don't we? Right? For the money we pay. So the big four meat packers, JBS, Brazil, Cargill, Tyson Foods, and National Beef currently dominate 85% of U.S. beef processing market, up from just 36% in 1980. And I think Tyson Foods, if I'm not mistaken, I think they're in Minnesota, one of their factories. And they do hire people that are from Somalia. And those jobs are getting them like what, $13 to $14 an hour, because that's something that I went over about a week ago, and I was like, yeah. So there are Somalians that are working, but $13 to $14 an hour, that still keeps you at the poverty line, which still means you're more than likely you're still getting welfare to prop you up, right? So that you can have food, housing, and all those things. But again, a lot of these refugees and asylum seekers that are here, and in my opinion, they should never be given any form of welfare, but it's like, how are they going to live? Why did we bring them here in the first place? And why isn't there a time limit on how long they're going to be here till they return back to their home country? In my opinion, if we take any refugees from any of these countries, that country should be giving us money to take care of their people. We should be given a stipend from their people. I'm just saying. Now you'll be like, well, look, these places, they're broken down, they're poor, then why are we taking them in? Something's got to give. They can't live off the American people. Period. We have to stop that. So industry consolidation has crushed competition and harmed cattle producers. In the 1980s, the top four packers, 1/3 of all fed cattle. By the mid-1990s, that share exploded to over 80% and has only grown more concentrated since. Wow. That's crazy. Okay. This has led to exploitation of American consumers, farmers, and ranchers. In fact, mounting evidence shows this monopoly power has slashed payments to ranchers, reduced herd sizes, driven up consumer prices, and threatened America's food supply chain. Yeah, all this. So I did pull up, let me see, the antitrust laws. And I actually have a short video that I'm going to show of my guest before they come on, just to give you some background on who she is and everything. But here's some of the antitrust laws that she actually brought up in her video, and I think that Donald Trump is bringing up as well. So Congress passed the first antitrust law, the Sherman Act, in 1890, as a comprehensive charter of economic liberty aimed at preserving free and unfettered competition as the rule of trade. In 1914, Congress passed two additional antitrust laws, the Federal Trade Commission Act, which created the FTC, and the Clayton Act. With some revisions, these are the three core federal antitrust laws still in effect today. And these are things that we actually need to use. So the antitrust laws proscribe unlawful mergers and business practices in general terms, leaving courts to decide which ones are illegal based on the facts of each case. Courts have applied the antitrust laws to changing markets from time to time, of horse and buggies to present digital age. Yet for over 100 years, the antitrust laws have been the same basic objective: to protect the process of competition for the benefit of consumers, making sure there are strong incentives for businesses to operate efficiently, keep prices down, and keep quality up. Well, then, my goodness, then we're just going to have to move on to BlackRock Vanguard, right? And the way I say it, that I don't say and, I say BlackRock Vanguard because they're basically the same company. Yeah, they've turned the real estate market upside down, and it was allowed by our Congress. So, yeah, y'all have a lot of work to do. I'm just saying, just bringing that up. If we're just going to talk about some things, let's just talk about that too. I digress. So you guys can see where we're coming from with this and antitrust laws. So I did a little bit of digging just with Grok, and I said, can you outline the idea Trump has in reference to the meatpacking plants, right? Like what are we really trying to get as our outcome? And as I just showed you, there are antitrust laws already in place to protect us. Okay. So the core proposal launch a DOJ investigation into illicit collusion. What it entails, Trump directed the Department of Justice to probe the nation's largest meatpacking companies, right? Tyson Foods, JBS, Cargill, National Beef, for potential price fixing, manipulation, and collusion. So if they're the top four, they could be doing that. Definitely. The focus is on whether these firms, which control about 85% of U.S. beef processing, have artificially inflated wholesale and retail prices, right? And they may blame it on energy, right? Because if it costs more to transport it, then that's going to go into the price that consumers pay on the back end, right? So a lot of times somebody asked me a question and they were like, well, what do you think, kind of got our economy into a mess? And I was like, the energy. Because if you can effectively disrupt energy, you're going to disrupt everything else, because all of our goods and services rely upon transportation, period. So if the cost of gas goes up, everything else is going to go up. And even though the price of gas is going down, guess what? The prices aren't going down necessarily, are they? Yeah, we're going to hear about record profits in January. Just listen out for that. Timeline trigger. He announced this November 7th amid reports of beef prices raising 12.3% for ground beef and 12.7% for steak. Year over year, far outpacing general inflation at 3%. But again, I'm telling you, they're going to cry energy. I guarantee you. So this followed cattle herd reductions due to droughts and high feed costs. But Trump argued industry dominance exacerbated the issue. Expected outcomes: if violations are found, the DOJ could pressure antitrust actions, fines, or structural remedies like breaking up monopolies or mandating more transparent pricing. Trump framed this as protecting American ranchers and consumers from big meat exploitation. So that's what he wants. And I'm really grateful, that he's addressing this. So I see that my guest is in the room. But again, I want to play the video of my guest before bringing her on, just so you know who you are watching. I think she's amazing. There we go.
We take down the big four: Tyson, Cargill, JBS, and National Beef, the four packers that control 85% of America's beef. They set the prices, they crush small ranchers, they overcharge you at the grocery store. And here's what they don't want you to know: the laws to break them up already exist. And if we enforce them, we could take them down tomorrow. This isn't a free market. It's a corporate cartel that decides what beef costs from the pasture to your plate. Ranchers lose, consumers lose, and the only winners, the big four, raking in record profits while the backbone of America's beef industry collapses. And the crazy part, we already have laws designed to stop this exact thing. We just stopped enforcing them. The Sherman Antitrust Act of 1890 bans monopolies and price fixing. The Clayton Act of 1914 allows the government to block mergers that kill competition. The the Packers and Stockyards Act in 1921, written for the livestock industry to stop unfair practices. Together, these laws are a silver bullet. They were built to protect the family rancher and the consumer, but for decades, the USDA and the DOJ looked the other way. And the Big Four quietly took over our food supply. Enforce the law, and everything changes. Packers could be forced to sell off plants and lose control of the market. They couldn't own their own cattle and rig prices. And fair market bidding returns. Ranchers finally get paid for what their cattle are worth. And product of the USA would actually mean it was raised here. But we don't have to wait for Washington. Every time you buy direct from a ranch, every time a small USDA plant opens its doors, every time a community builds its own food system, we chip away at corporate control. The real revolution isn't in DC, it's right here on local pastures across America. The Big Four broke America's beef supply, but the blueprint to take them down is already written. All we have to do is enforce it. Because food freedom doesn't come from the grocery store. It starts right here on the ranch.
Well said. I'm just saying. And with that, I'm going to bring up my guest, Miss Casey Parker, to the stage. Let's see. Did I bring you up? Let me do this. I got to change the view. Now I can add you to the stage. There we go. Hey, good morning.
Good
Good. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, good. I love it. You got the hat on. That's what I'm talking about.
I do it because I don't like the top of my head. So I don't wear it all the time.
It looks good, though. It looks
Yeah.
good. I like
Thank
it. It means you're taking care of business. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As women, when we wear our hats, it's like, okay, look, I'm cutting through everything. Cutting
Yep.
through everything. So I started off just, going over what the Trump administration is trying to do in what, then going and telling the DOJ, like, hey, this is a problem. This is an issue. And I'm so glad because it aligns with what you're doing. But to your point, yes, we need to just work around the system and just do what we need to do. So with that, I'll just let you introduce yourself and let us know a little bit more about your project and how we can assist you in that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I formed the American Rancher Alliance, and it's a producer-owned supply chain. So it's a co-op, but the members are the owners of the co-op. So, and it's one member, one vote. So if you have a big ranch, a little ranch, it doesn't matter. You get one vote if you're a producer. So there's no lobbying or bureaucracy or any of that that can happen within this. There's no investors, nothing like that. So it's kind of nice. We're staying away from the things that got us in trouble in the first place. But basically, we're helping the ranchers from cow calf all the way to the grocery stores. So if it's a cow calf producer, we set them up with a network of our finishing producers. And if they're a finishing producer, then we, or even a complete farm to table like I do with my ranch, will get that beef from them and we'll pay them exactly what they need for that beef to support their ranch. And then we will take it and get it processed for much, 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 much cheaper than what a regular farm to table producer would get right now. Because right now, farm to table producers are paying around $1,800 per carcass. So you're adding $3 to $4 per pound just on the finished product. And we've got that down to less than half. Around $1 per pound is where we're at. The contracts that I have with the processors, and they're also local processors. They're not the big four packers. It's multiple different ones strategically placed around the region. So it's the fuel cost is cheaper. Just everything's cheaper. So it ends up being cheaper for the consumer on the end as well.
Okay, this is awesome. So I've put up the website because I wanted everybody to be able to see it while you were talking about it. And as you were stating, and here, I'm gonna just bring up the bylaws. I know technology is horrible sometimes, and you can't
Sorry, I was
always.
jumping around a
You,
lot.
I
We're
want it
just
to work so. No, you're fine. It's
yeah,
just that, like I said, technology, like things will break down and they'll be slow, and I'm like, "Ugh, keep up." So you've got
yeah,
your bylaws, how it works, the American Rancher Alliance, as you were sharing with us, rebuilding America's beef supply, producer owned, American controlled. I love it because we are really, and this is the interesting thing about AI that I've seen. I've seen a lot of people pulling away from it, and they really want more peer to peer business
yes.
operations. They just
Oh
want to
yeah,
take out whatever middleman there is because, like, I don't know who the middleman is, but I know another human right,
yeah,
that I can get beef from, eggs from, milk from, whatever I need.
yes.
And we don't need the AI for that. So I'll
Yeah.
let you continue, just sharing about what you're doing, and I'll just go through the website. Is there
Yeah.
anywhere in particular on the website you'd like me to go to?
Um, I'm not sure. It's wherever you feel like you want to go on there that looks interesting.
Yeah, what we do.
We do the bylaws on there, so you know exactly what we do, what we stand
Okay.
for, how it works, which is great. We're trying to be the biggest thing with the alliance is we want to be 100% transparent, not only with the producers
Very
and
good.
together between the producers, but with the consumer. So on the packages, you'll see at the grocery store, our label will say American Rancher Alliance, but there's going to be a QR code on the label that you can scan and it shows you what ranch that steak came from, what beef it
Okay.
is, like what if it was a Angus or a Hereford or a Wagyu. It'll tell you exactly what that beef is, what it was fed, its full like vaccine schedule, because there's vaccines that are given to calves, or else we get dead calves, so you don't want
Right.
that. Um, and
Now, let me ask a question about the vaccines because I'm always concerned about the whole
oh
MNRA. So I'm assuming they're not getting that, but they're getting
no,
like the standard ones that they've been given since maybe the
for
50s.
yes, for a very long time.
Okay.
Yeah, so we actually completely exclude, like we have a rule, you cannot vaccinate with mRNA
Okay.
vaccines, no antibiotics for any meat, beefs, or any meat animals. You cannot give them antibiotics and no hormones.
Okay.
And then we have different tiers. So we have grain fed, grass fed, organic, so on and so forth. So yeah.
Nice. Nice. Because those are some of the things that I know everybody's looking out for these days. Again, like I said, all the technology stuff that they've been bringing forward, like, yeah, this is great. Humans are like, no, it's not. And we don't want that.
And even a lot of ranchers don't vaccinate at all, but I would say most of them do with the traditional vaccines in the beginning
Mhm.
for respiratory,
Yeah.
um, and tetanus, because whenever you're banding them, that's a big risk factor,
Right.
and you're
Right.
castrating. So most of the time they do, and they've been around for so long. They're not these experimental
No.
drugs
No.
that they're doing now that nobody knows what the heck they're doing.
Right. Like that's what I was saying. Like, yeah, the standard ones that have been around since the 50s. It's like, yeah.
Mm,
And you
yeah,
know what? And people didn't get as sick back
no,
then using
God,
meat as they do now. And you would think, okay, we have more technology now. Why are people sicker now than they were 50 years ago?
it's the food. And it's crazy because they're even doing it in the meats. Well, you seen with Campbell and
Yeah.
their 3D printed chicken in there. But how many times, what companies are all doing this? And then even with the
Mhm.
ground beef, it's well known that they're, you know, using pink slime,
Mhm.
which is meat not fit for human consumption, but washed in ammonia to
Mhm.
to apparently make it fit for human consumption, which is
I know. It's
ugh,
crazy. I was like, you know what? I will get a mushroom and fry
right?
it up. I'm just
Yeah,
saying, because I know it's a mushroom.
right. Oh my god. And another thing that they're putting in everything that I see, even I've seen it in meat products, and it makes me want to fall over, but maltodextrin, because it's a weight
Yeah.
gain supplement. And
Mm,
they're using it in a filler and everything, and it spikes your blood glucose 3 times higher than table sugar.
yeah.
And it's crazy. Like, you
Yeah.
have to literally read every label,
Mhm.
or
Yeah,
yeah,
because you're
you're just
always thinking that you're safe, especially because we have the FDA. And I'm glad you brought up maltodextrin because I'm allergic to it because it's derived from corn, and I have a corn
okay.
allergy.
Okay. We're
So,
out.
yeah, so, what is it? Acne? It
Mhm.
makes me break out. So I
Oh
can't
my
eat
goodness.
any type of corn products, especially that one. And to your point, it is now in everything. Like there are things that I was able to buy at the store before, like, like chips, because every once in a while I like to snack on potato chips. And they're putting it in that. Now I'm like, what are you doing? Like I
Yeah.
can't eat like 90% of the things that are packaged, I can't eat
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I won't eat it. So, yeah, I'm with you on
it.
there. I will not eat it because I try to eat animal-based, low carbohydrate, because there's so many snuck in carbohydrates through everything
Hmm.
anyway.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so if it's on the label, I don't consume it.
Wow.
But,
Wow.
yeah.
But again, like I said, I just thank you for everything that
Yeah,
you're
absolutely.
doing. Like I said, I
Thank
wanted to
you.
bring up your website. Now, is there outside of the website, is there anywhere on this website where people should go? Because I know I was on the homepage and it showed how you could sign up
Yes. So if you're a producer, we're
here
onboarding producers
to
all the
join the
time. Yeah,
movement.
please join our movement. There's ways you can help on there. If you have a service that you think that you can offer us, that would be super awesome. And let's see. Oh, there's we did put up petitions for the mandatory country of origin labeling, and the state inspected facilities to be able to ship nationwide. And if we can get Trump to sign those orders, that would help all of America, honestly. Just not even just our alliance, or it would help everybody. It's going to open up that bottleneck. And yeah, that make prices move down very
Okay.
quickly on the consumer side. And it also has some cool merch and stuff on there too, with for donations, because we always need help with on that end, at least
Okay.
until we get
Good.
rolling.
Good. Cattle rancher and they eat. They can come here to American Rancher Alliance.com. That's American Rancher Alliance.com. And I will you there. Are there any other social media platforms that you're on where people can follow you?
Yeah, I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, and YouTube. YouTube.
Oops. I don't know if I'm ahead or behind because I'm not moving to me.
Did it cut out? Sorry.
Oh,
I think. Oh, I
like I
know.
said, technology is wonderful,
Oh,
but I know I'm moving slow.
I think it was probably mine, maybe. Are you there? I don't know. Mm,
Please
buffering.
let us know where we can follow.
There we go.
Yes, I know. Just buffering.
Just buffering.
Let us know how we can follow you.
Yeah. On
Yes.
Instagram, yeah, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or well, X, and yeah, TikTok and YouTube. We're on all those platforms.
Okay. Okay, good deal. So I will make sure that I list all the platforms. So let me do this because sometimes, let's see, come on, machine. This is crazy. Okay, really? This is the one thing that drives me just bananas.
Yeah,
About StreamYard. 'Cause like all these screens going and working and doing all this stuff, and now it wants to freeze. Yes. Yes, I have to wait because I have a human on my show. You are killing me.
It's okay.
Still here. Okay. Oh my goodness, this is so crazy. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Like it's literally frozen. And position me back here. Okay. Has decided to just fail me. Like StreamYard. Oh my goodness. StreamYard is like killing me today. Because normally when I do have a guest, I don't always, bring up websites or different things. I just, you know, it's just me and
Yeah,
you. We're just talking and I tell everybody where to follow. But I wanted to really show people what you were working on in real time.
yeah.
So
Sorry, I was kind of all
thank
over
you
the place because
for
I've got
hanging in there
so
with me. I know I'm
much.
still a little bit behind.
Yes, because we have so much
Yes.
that we're
Yes.
helping
But
to
it's
do.
good that this is a lot now.
Yeah.
Yes. So I know you had mentioned the Trump administration. It was a little jumbly. I know that
Mhm.
they're working on an executive order. Is it an executive order or is it just
I know they're working on a DOJ probe into the Big Four, but we need Trump to
okay?
sign two executive orders that would put in place the mandatory country of origin labeling where you'll know where your food is coming from, that it's coming from the United
Okay.
States or elsewhere. And then the
Okay.
state inspected,
Okay.
also the EO for state inspected facilities to ship nationwide, because the state inspected facilities have equal to or better standards and rules than the USDA
Okay.
plants. And they're not allowed to do anything. They're in a box.
Okay.
They're stuck there. Yeah. And we're going to use those plants for, say we have a
Wow.
producer that's in Kentucky and we have a retail store that's in Kentucky. We're going to use
Okay.
that state processor because they're both in Kentucky and we can. But if we have, say, we have a Wagyu producer that's in Kentucky, but we have a store in Georgia that wants Wagyu beef, we have to use a USDA. And it's the same for any farm to table rancher. And because like you can only use USDA, they're getting like they're kind of price gouging. I mean, when they're paying $4 a pound on finished product and people are like, why am I paying so much for the beef? Well, that's why, you know, they're kind of getting price gouged because they're the only option for people that want to ship outside of their state, which is a lot of farm to table
Okay.
producers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. Well, now, and these are executive orders that he has or can sign.
He can sign. Yeah.
That's what I was trying to make sure.
Yeah. We're trying to get him to.
Okay.
We're trying. We're pushing it.
Okay. Well, you
Yeah.
know what? We actually do have something for that because my machine is just wanting to be wild. And I know everything's going to be fine after we finish our little interview and stuff. And then I'll be like, yeah, everything were great after,
No, it's
after
fine.
this segment. But, if any of you guys want to, let me see, I want to show it. Hopefully it will show here in a second. The White House. We can call the White House and we can make comments about
Oh,
this. So I know you can call 202-456-1111, or you can email the White House at comments@whitehouse.gov. He does read these, not personally, but he does have a staff that goes through these comments. And so if we really want to push this and say, hey, there's an executive order out there, and I'll make sure to repost it after the show, you guys can go ahead and call and comment and say, hey, this is what we want. This is where we
yeah.
see this going. We noticed that, you've already commissioned the DOJ to break up this cartel. Here's what we would like to see happen behind it. You could sign these two executive orders because they do need us as the general public, because they don't know what we want unless we tell them. Right.
Yeah.
And so it starts with us. So
Yes.
with that, I just want to thank you so much for joining me here on the show and working through the technical difficulties. Trust me, my camera has fallen. I have gone through a lot. Because I'm the only person here running this little thing that I got going on.
Oh, bless.
But I'll let you have last words before we end this segment.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for having me on. And yeah, if you can, when you go to the store and you see the ARA beef labels on the grocery store, give us a try, because we're actually real American rancher owned, operated, and brought to you. So
Awesome. Awesome.
um,
Wonderful. Well, again, thanks again
thank you for having me.
for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News. And I'm definitely going to try
Okay, cut out.
bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. I am so sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm really hoping it will wrap all of this up in post, as they say. I mean, it totally kicked me out of my own stream. I'm like, what? How are you going to kick me out? But you know what? Your kick actually more encouraged than ever. So I definitely want you guys to check out American Rancher Alliance.com, and I will make sure to have Casey's all of her social media so you can follow her, so you know what things are coming up. Please, if you are able to, call the White House and petition the White House to really move forward with executive order in the area, right? Because we need it here, we need it in housing, we need it with our fruits and vegetables, right? We need it everywhere. But again, if we don't tell the White House what we want, we're not going to get what we want in return. So I'm going to cut the stream short today because, again, there is some technical things going on. But I will be back tomorrow for Mighty Men Thursday, and I'm going to have it open. So tomorrow will be Mighty Men Thursday, open mic. So any of my men out there that would like to come on stage and just events or maybe topics or maybe a topic they want to discuss on the show, just let me know. You can email me at unfilteredvisionnews@gmail.com, or you can message me on X, Wellness Wednesday. But thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News. And remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered.